Da, 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 da. Check 1, 2. Bum, 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 bum. Hi, friends. Welcome back to the show. My name is Dean, and here we are to start your week. It is Monday, the 10th day of June, the year of your Lord, not mine, 2024. Joining me for yet another program. Welcome to the show. My friends and yours, Mr. Douglas Connors from the True NorthEagerBeaver podcast, ladies and gentlemen, and of course,
Heidi ho.
Lachlan Cross is back from a week out west where he had to attend to some funerals and light boats on fire and just generally getting together with family, having cocktails and trying to bring closeness to the Cross family unit, which I believe you did. Welcome back from the left coast there, fella. Good to see you both.
It was good. It was a good trip.
Hello.
Yeah.
I
don't know why this is. So yesterday, and maybe Doug's got some sort of answer for this. We got up, we had breakfast, a cup of coffee, got in the car, got on a ferry, dropped off the rental vehicle, hopped on the SkyTrain, grabbed a plane,
Douglas. Easy
went
with
to
the language,
Kelowna,
Douglas.
went to Kelowna, flew home, got home at 10, traveled all day.
Can I just give me 1 second?
Exhausting.
You say well, hang on just a sec. You say jump on a ferry. Douglas absolutely screws us over with some kind of like backhanded insult to his own community. And I just want to point out, Douglas is gay. We are not. He's allowed to make those jokes. We will never do that. But holy fuck, did I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
It's like, if you jumped on a ferry, it wasn't me. That's all I'll say.
Sorry, Locke.
I gotta say this.
Continue.
Traveling is exhausting, but you're not doing anything. Why is it so tiring?
People are exhausting.
Okay.
It's the mental
people,
negotiation you do every time you travel where you're like, someone's going to steal my wallet, keep my money belt close to my chest. I don't know where I'm going. The stress you out, dog. That's the problem.
Why is this guy trying to cut in the line to get onto the plane?
Yeah. Am I going to be able to get my seat? Like that kind of stuff. You're just stressed all the time. When I came back from Calgary, until I actually land from being on a trip in Calgary, I'm like, and I'm exhausted when I get back because, to Douglas's point, you're negotiating people in airports, malls, ferries, terminals, kiosks, toll booths, and you're like, fuck off already. All these people can fuck off. This is the only good thing about automating our society, in my opinion. Like going to the grocery store, I'm all in. I don't mind doing the extra work. I don't mind, showing up to a toll booth or getting on a plane or a boat without having human contact. You know why? I need less of that in my life, Douglas, to your point.
I get peopled out too.
Do you? Your social battery runs low?
You're an extrovert too, though.
No, I am not.
You're not?
So
really?
Not. I'm an introvert that's really good at faking it. Because I grew up on stage all my life. Yeah. I grew up on stage all my life, right? I was a dance student. So I started when I was 8. I'm used to be on stage. That's my safe place. I'm fine there like this. But like when the show's over and like we've gone on, we've like thanked the audience for coming and shake some hands. When I go back to that, when I could go back to that green room, it's like, oh. And it's like for every hour of social I give, I have to plug myself in the wall for 2. That's
interesting.
Like I get energy from people, but it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So like this, and then I get back home and it's like, just like, okay.
Huh.
It's like it's just this. It's too much. Yeah, I get peopled out. I'm very much like it's really weird because I have a good circle of friends and I am social. I'm not antisocial, but I really like my alone time. Like,
you know
really, I've passed
I think
on many times going out saying that no, I'd just rather be alone tonight. Thank you.
And the older you get, the more you triage that, because you realize how important time is, and your mental health is important to you. We're going to talk about that at length today, so I'm glad you're here to talk about it. Sorry, Locke, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but the older we get, the less interested we are in dealing with people's shit. That's the problem that we have.
I don't even know if it's that as much as it is. Doug's not unique in being a performer and being perceived as an extrovert, but is actually an introvert. Because I think I'm probably more of an introvert than I am an extrovert as well.
Yeah. If you watch Alex and I together, my Beaver sweetie, like he is completely gregarious and out there like this. He'll sit there. You can have there could be 5 hours of conversation, and you could talk for 15 minutes, and he will talk for 3 hours and 45 minutes. Like he keep it going like this. When we're together like this, if you watch us together, I hardly say a thing.
Wow. And you're the performer. You're the guy with the podcast. You're the communications expert, right?
I think I just talk so much in my regular life that when I don't have to anymore, I just don't. I've got nothing left to say. I said it all already.
Well, Locke, don't you like when you used to get off the radio at like 10 o'clock in the morning, right? You have a couple of meetings, you're there till 11. When you get home, I was like this when I would get home. And let's lean into this because Douglas has a mental health walk at 5K that he's doing in Ottawa next week. And Senator Patrick Brazeau is there. I want to talk about this stuff. But when you get home, were you not like maxed out? Like you get home and your significant other, your kids will go, "Hey, Dad, let's talk. Let's go do this." And you're like, I don't want to talk anymore. I'm talked out. Like, just give me half a day. I need like 2-3 hours. I need to sleep. And then I can get my mind going again. Then I can restart the engines. And it's not about capacity in as much as it is when you're a communicator, a presenter, when you do this job for a living, it is exhausting, continually searching for the right words, trying to stay on side of every conversation and trying to be something to somebody. I think it's different for presenters, Locke. I'd be interested to see how you felt after you got off the air, though, because that was me.
No, I don't know if I felt exhausted or if I needed like Doug's description of it is a little more involved than how I sort of thought about it. But I did feel like I needed to get away. I have to ramp myself up in social situations. Not that I'm nervous, but there's this switch that I feel like I have to flick internally to get myself into a position where I'm like, okay, I also think it's a bit of my own insecurities about being a driver in this space and overcompensating, dominating conversations, and also being very self-aware. And I think I have a sense of how people react to me in a room, and I will turn a lot of people off. I can feel that inner, like, this fucking guy. I can feel that that energy in a room. And so for me, I'm constantly overthinking my approach to a social situation. In this format is kind of a little bit different in that we kind of got a job to do. So you know your role, and the other people, if you're working with decent people, know that everyone's just trying to accomplish something, get a message across, be entertaining, and they're allowing you for that space. In social situations, everybody's agenda is different. Like some people want to interject, some people don't. Some people are waiting for an opportunity to speak and feel like they don't get. And so you're dealing with all of these different insecurities in a room. And so, and I'm like the guy in a meeting, like a work meeting. If it isn't going the way that I want it to go, I'll take it over. Right? Like even when I wasn't the boss. And so I always felt like I was trying to find some way of controlling or manipulating a situation, and that can be exhausting.
Yeah. And there's something about
makes sense.
Makes total sense. And there's, for me, it's not so much that, it's the concept of being on.
So
yeah. It's not fake. It's a difference from fake.
No.
It's certain, like, for example, a job interview, for example. you don't walk in and start talking like you talk to your buds, right? You present, you put on the suit, you put on the tie, you present the best face, you bring out your best English, your best vocabulary, like this. You try to prevent, you're not being fake, but you're just trying to bring out the absolute best version of yourself.
Oh, you're being fake, all right. No, and that you see, I want to get into that part of it because a lot of men have that. Yeah,
but we all have this within ourselves, right? We have our best versions of ourselves and our worst versions of ourselves, and we, are more relaxed and are more, you're aware of that people are watching you like this, and you bring out different parts of yourself, and doing that, when you're just at home, like for example, when I go to my Beaver Sweeties folks' place, right? I'm not sitting on the sofa in my underwear and putting my feet on the coffee table, right? I'm sitting properly like this. When the cup is there, when I'm done, I take the cup, I put it, I rinse it right away, I put it away, I clean up like this. I'm doing all these little stuff, I go to the bathroom, if there's some water left off like this, I clean it up like this. But I'm always paying attention specifically at how I'm coming across, what I look like. Am I making a good impression? Am I being respectful? Am I saying something stupid? Am I saying something offensive? And I'm just always being on all the time like this. And it's like when you get out of that situation, and it's not get out of the situation, when the situation ends, it's just like, okay, now I can just be like sloppy, lazy, first button on my pants undone, like this, my hair is, I got a lot of it. So every now and then it's disheveled. It's fine. Nobody's going to see me. I don't need to comb it right now. I'm good. Right. And another thing that people don't know about me and don't assume is that I'm actually literally painfully shy. It's like,
it's always the way it is with performers.
But when I was a kid, like I remember once I was all my life as a kid, but I remember specifically one night I was 21 and I had just moved to Montreal to go to dance school, and I got invited to a loft party, and there was about like 60 people there. It was huge, and I only knew the host. So he greeted me at the door, asked me if I wanted something, got a glass of orange juice, sat on the edge of the sofa, and then it was like, somebody, please come and talk to me. And nobody did, because I didn't know anybody. And I sat there for about an hour and a half, like this, and I was on the verge of tears.
That's why they make alcohol,
because I couldn't go. Exactly, I know, but I'm not a big drinker, but plus I have like this sense of propriety. So I'm sitting there in the party and going like, I really want to leave, but there are people that arrived before me that are still here, so I can't go. Somebody, please talk to me, like this, and like and there was like this finally this nice. Not elderly woman, but older woman, probably in her 50s, because I was like 21 at the time, who came, sat and had a conversation with me and was like, thank you. But I was debilitated. I sat there like this, and I was paralyzed, and I couldn't go up and talk to anyone, and nobody was coming to talk to me, and I really wanted to leave, but it's like, I just got here. It's like, hey, I just came for 15 minutes, and I'm like that's rude, and I felt like I could leave. It was until she came and talked to me. I was having the most, and everything on the outside was like I'm just like sitting there like this, and inside I am dying and fall apart. And it's like, just like, don't cry now. I think I even went to the bathroom once or twice and actually cried a little bit, and like, put cold water and just to let some like a stress cry, and I'm better now because I'm doing this type of stuff and more. So, I like when I'm acting, and after a show, you have to proactively go up to people and say, hey, thank you so much for that. So I get it. But if I stop doing that for about a year, I guess I revert right back to where I was. But it's like a muscle. I have to work it, because if I stop doing it, I revert back. I go back to go say hi. It's like, no, you go. I don't want to talk to you. Like I'll get all small and clam right up.
Dean, did you ever have trouble leaving parties?
No, zero. I've got no problem walking the fuck right out of those parties.
No more. Ever since somebody taught me about the Irish exit.
Oh yeah,
that was a gift.
It's called the party ninja, right? The party ninja is where you throw
to the host
down and
quietly,
then boom, you're gone. Yeah.
go to the host, quietly say, "Hey, I've got to leave. Thank you so much," and then zip out before anybody has a chance.
My
to notice.
wife is
don't
always
don't do the tour and say goodbye because it'll take you 3 hours to leave.
Dude, I'm going to tell you something.
you,
I am the greatest at doing the Irish exit, Irish car bomb, we call it, or the ninja exit. It is, hey guys, and this is it, dude. This is the thing, and I'll tell you something because we're going to get into the mental health part of this. But if you are in a situation where you are uncomfortable and it is bad for your mental, physical, or spiritual health, you owe nobody a fucking explanation about why you left. Like zero. And I've really employed that my whole life. And it has done me incredible favors where you walk out of a party, everybody's done this, right? Incredibly uncomfortable. We'll talk about why in just a second. But when you get to that point where you're like, I'm going to have a panic attack unless I leave this place because I cannot stand the noise. I cannot stand the people. Everybody's hammered. Everybody's spitting on each other. It's those times, those things, those events. And it, dude, but here's the thing is I'm like that at family gatherings too.
Yeah. Same. Yeah.
I'm like that at like work events. Like I was at a meeting last week and it was supposed to be an hour and a half meeting. I got through my stuff. I picked up my shit and I'm like, okay, guys, thanks. Got to go. And they're like, are you going to stay for the rest of the meeting? I'm like, no, none of this has anything to do with me. I'm not going to fry like another 45 minutes sitting here. Sorry about that. And I just walked out and I got a phone call from someone that said, why did you leave? I go, because I didn't have any desire to be there anymore. And that is a mental health problem for me, which is really what has interested me because I'm going through my stuff right now, like everybody else is, like Lachlan is going through it, like you go through it, burnt out, tired, not interested in interacting. We're at that age, you know, between 40 and 50, 40 and 60, where you start questioning why you act the way you act. You're embarrassed and ashamed of these things. You start criticizing the critique of yourself that happens cognitively in your head, or you sit there and go, why is nobody talking to me? Why do I feel uncomfortable? There must be something wrong with me. We're the only species, Douglas, human beings, are the only species in the world who criticize their critical thoughts and somehow figure out a way to make themselves feel like absolute shit over absolutely nothing. Imagination, how we feel. And we judge everybody because of it. Yeah. And, you know, the fascinating thing is, and I want to talk to you about it and open up this conversation. I think it's a nice little bleed into
judgment piece is killing us.
Individual people that have issues, but men, and I work with a lot of them. And I'm one of the guys, you know, when you sit down and talk to a guy and I tweet about wellness, I tweet about how to look at life. I talk about how to protect yourself from the perception of others and how to get through this life. And it's funny because I'm talking to myself all the time because I, like every other man out there, is just as unwell as all the other cats. Right. And so this mental health 5K you're putting on in Ottawa this weekend, and I know you and Paul like to talk about it on the TrueNorthEagerBeaver podcast. Oh, look at that. It's got the green screen with the E. It looks very psychedelic. It interests me because we don't talk about this stuff. We put on an air of confidence. People think that we present as we do here. You know, you go and meet with your friends and you put that best version of yourself on, while in the back of your head, you're thinking, I wonder if these guys all have the same hangups I have. I wonder if they're looking at me funny. I wonder if there's something on my face. I wonder if I'm acting appropriately, to the point where I have been so fucked up in the past 5 years at times, where I will be sitting down and go, am I sitting properly so people look at me and go, yeah, he's sitting normally, he's cool. Are my facial expressions? And you know what? I admit to that freely because during one of my therapy sessions a couple of months ago, I said this to my therapist and he's like, oh, buddy, you got some issues. And I want to talk about that because this is not just me. This isn't mutually exclusive for crazy people. This is where you get to a point in your life where all the experiences add up and you start asking yourself, what am I worth if I have these receipts in my life? So tell me a little bit about the mental health 5K, strength on men. I mean, you really kind of, and listen, it's a real tough time for men to have their own movement.
Yes.
But good for you. Tell me about it real quick.
Yeah, you're right. It is a tough time for men to have their own movement, but particularly on mental health, there seems to be some type of consensus out there that when it comes to men, the services are just not there. We're just not there. It's not that controversial a statement, oddly enough, but you would think, given the current context, it might be. The mental health walk is something that's inspired from an event in Australia called Walk for a Bloke. So there's a group there that's called Spoke for a Bloke. It's a group of people, very grassroots, of guys who, sadly, one of their mates committed suicide. And it seems that nobody in the group knew that something was going on because he didn't talk to them. And they're all sort of like, well, why didn't, they're all wondering, somebody took their life, and it's like, well, why didn't he talk to us? Well, there must have been something that made it such that that person felt that they couldn't. And there have been studies done. I don't have any like at the tip of my fingertips here today, but men, when they are asked, when you are going through a really tough time, or when you've got too much going on, who do you talk to? Most men, overwhelming majority of men, say nobody. Not their girlfriends, not their spouses, not their boyfriends, not their family, not their friends. Nobody. They feel they have nobody, or that they can't talk. So they're going through all of that in silence.
They feel like it's weak too. Men feel like if someone asks them doing a pattern response, or they say, you know what, I'm not doing very well. I'm confused. I'm sad. I'm angry. I have no confidence. I don't know what I am. It's like my life experiences have led me to this point. And if at 50 or 51 or 45 or 56, however old you are, you're asking yourself those questions in what should be the sunset age of your life, it is scary. I don't care who you are, right? Where you're like, everything I've done has led me to this, and this is what I get. And that is why men don't talk, Douglas. And you talk to a lot of different guys. We've all got our own mental health struggles, emotional issues, right? Is that not a unanimous opinion when it comes to men? Is, listen, I can't admit that I'm struggling because people will think I'm weak. My employer will think I'm weak. My friends will not want to hang out with me. Women won't find it attractive. All of the issues that it seems like men continue to have, Douglas, mentally and emotionally, seem to come from the idea that you don't want to pierce this reputation of what it means to be that, right? Yeah. When everybody around you feels the exact same way.
Yeah, and like all those things, like man up, walk it off. One of the worst things that can happen to a guy when he's going through that and opens up, and particularly, let's say if it comes from the opposite sex, right? It's like, oh my God, you're so weak. Be a man. Like this, like an attack to your actual masculinity, because you're talking about like these are things that are devastating.
But I think it's even more than that, Douglas. I want to jump in here quickly because I think what a man is, the definition of that is not clear right now. And I don't know if our role as men is very well defined. So I think there's a separation, and I think it's part of the reason why we have such a mental health issue because our roles in society have changed, right?
Yes.
Men used to be defined very differently 20,
just the
30,
providers.
40, 50 years ago. That is not, there's no typical definition of a man anymore, right? Exactly. Are we the Phil Dunphy fathers? Are we like, I can't fix my car, it's a computer. Like, there's all these real and those are, I know those are very superficial explanations for what a man is, but I'm saying if you dig deeper, I think that is part of why we have such a mental health crisis, because and not only that, society has also told us that we have to curtail a lot of the ways we feel as men.
Yes.
And so everyone's dancing around this, what's this idea of being a man?
Yep.
And I think that confusion is part of why we've got a bunch of searchers. I've never seen so many searchers in my life from the male side. I'm 54 now, and I don't remember this being a thing when I was young. Like guys went through like stages, like 20s, 30s, you know, okay, I'm going to have kids now. We got to get a house. But now you find men searching, like they're looking for something. And then you got a lot of people in that space that are providing what they call solutions,
wellness.
And they're and then they tend to be, you know, maybe charlatans in that regard, in some regard. And so you end up getting I don't know. It's very confusing to be a dude. And I listen, and Dean said it at the top. This is not the world. We don't live in a world right now where it's it's
not
clear sailing for men's issues, right?
No.
If anybody's watching this going, you got 4 white men sitting there complaining about being men.
White-ish.
White-ish. Yeah, we brought Douglas on because A, this is his mental 5K walk, but B, he's a bunch of different nationalities and he's gay. So what we do is we get a ton of runway here, which is really good.
There you go. Okay.
I tick a lot of boxes.
Yes,
people.
He does.
I tick a lot of boxes.
There's just only one he doesn't, and I don't want to get into that. But what I will say is this: is that we you hit the nail on the head. Jerry Seinfeld said it a couple weeks ago. You like that box ticking? You're welcome. We did it with jumping on the ferry and the box ticking today. I'm really happy. We're firing on all cylinders today. This is a lot of fun. Jerry Seinfeld gave an interview
that's
last.
What she said I missed.
Yeah,
anyway, and I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on this Jerry Seinfeld thing. Sorry to interrupt you.
Seinfeld said something last week, and they were asking him because he's doing the rounds. He had that stupid Pop-Tart movie, so everybody was asking him about, you know, the things that you ask a celebrity about, which they're not entitled to talk about, which is what are the problems with chaos in society. Jerry Seinfeld said hierarchy. We've blown up the hierarchy that has kind of governed the way things are happening, and it wasn't like this commitment to the men's hierarchy, right? The way that men kind of trickle down rights for everybody else, including women, children, the LGBTQ community, even though most of those guys are gay too. But he was onto something. You know, there's this uncomfortable moment in history, which we're all living through, right? Where it's like, hey, dudes, take a back seat. And we're like, okay, we'll take a back seat. Especially if you're white dudes, take a back seat. And you're like, okay, I'll take a back seat too. And then you take that back seat and you sit and watch, and you're so used to being the center of the universe. You're so used to the privilege that you have. You're so used to these things that you actually have to become demure. And that does not work with a lot of male personalities. And so a guy like Jordan Peterson will come along, to your point, with the charlatans, or Alex Jones or Joe Rogan, and they'll say, hey, listen, while we're getting our asses kicked in the public sphere, try this new powder in your drink. You'll come quarts of jizz. Try this new brain food, and you'll be able to think your way around woke ideology.
And don't forget the tactical perineum wipes.
Maybe you just have low T.
Maybe you have low testosterone. Try this new powder for $29.99 a week, and boy, oh boy, you'll be a real man. And here's the fucking catch. Is that not only is that true, is that we have seen this happen. This is what
the powder does work, Dean?
No, it doesn't at all. This is what progress looks like, and we are uncomfortable with it in some cases. But what it has done, and this is the truth, Douglas, you know this, Paulie knows this, Locke, you know this, I know this. Anytime you are taken out of a familiar situation, it's uncomfortable. It's like a new pair of underwear. And men are not used to talking about why we're uncomfortable. Men are used to saying, fuck you, we're going to reassert. Well, there's no reasserting anymore if you're a dude. There is find your way, find your place.
There's
find a way to feel good about yourself
right now.
We see
it
it
awkward
politics.
Sounding. Yeah.
We see it in politics. But to that point, I don't know if I have ever had a situation in my life where I haven't had the financial means or the friend in my life to go and talk about how I'm feeling with other people. But Douglas, and you know this, you and I know this, you start talking with other people in your space who are just as angry about how confused they are. And it only goes one of two ways, right? And we're seeing that manifest itself now. We're seeing it manifest itself in angry, young, specifically white men with certain ideologies and backgrounds go after the LGBTQ community again this month, saying it makes me uncomfortable. Well,
it's
guess
almost
what?
like every June.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like it's a combination of happy pride and happy fighting up happy month of fighting off all the people who are just irrationally triggered by rainbows because this moment is not theirs.
You know what I found interesting? Can I ask you this, Doug?
Yeah.
I mean, in the community, is there a conversation about pulling back on visualization of the month? Because we were in Vancouver, and Vancouver, right?
Right.
And we were doing a damn it, what do you call when you run around and try to find clues?
Scavenger
hunt. It's scavenger hunt. We did this online scavenger hunt, and one of the things we had to do is we had to find a picture of a pride flag, like a flag, and take a picture of it and post it online for one of the things in the scavenger hunt. We're downtown Vancouver running around for like a half an hour. We couldn't find a pride flag. And my daughters were like, "It's Pride Month. What's going on?" So is there a concerted effort to pull back on it on some level, Doug?
I don't know, because I if I'm not mistaken, I believe Pride in Vancouver is in August.
Okay. It's different months. I thought it was the same month right across the country.
Well, they call it Pride Month because the Stonewall riots happened in late June 1969.
Okay.
But given like Pride is not like Christmas, right? Christmas is like, well, I mean, unless you're Orthodox, and but Christmas is the 25th, right? And everybody celebrates it all around the world at the same time. It's like it's Pride Month in June because there are prides all throughout June, but every city only has one Pride Day. Right?
Okay.
Parade only happens on one day. And also back in the day, because, well, there was a time when pretty much only gay people went to prides. Well, you need gay people to come to your pride in order to make it financially viable. So if all the prides were on the same day, well, then they would all pretty much all go bankrupt.
Yeah.
We travel, we go to the other ones. Now it's become bigger, and most everybody's involved, and a lot of them can survive on their own. But it kind of happened that way. And then a lot of it also has to do with weather. Also, there are some places some places have their prides even in May. Like I believe in El Paso, Texas, I went to one once, and it was in May, because to do the parade in July, I mean, there'd be nobody walking. It's just too damn hot. A little too damn hot. So yeah. See, the Pride in Vancouver is July 26th to August 4th. So the things probably wouldn't be up now.
Okay. Yeah. I always assumed that June was the month, right? Because it was.
But June is the month.
The month.
Yeah. Because I think it was June 29th, 1969 or 27th.
It's surprising to see a lack of pride flags in Vancouver during the month of June.
Yeah.
Though. Anyway, I thought it was odd.
Hard to find.
So for the mental health walk, and this is what you're saying, Dean, as well, is that
you can call me Gene. I've been called Gene before.
Yeah, I know that. But politically, was another thing that's happening. There's if you've ever heard of it, there's something called the Great Rewiring that's being called. There's some theories about that, and it's typically affecting men 50 and under. I guess either through use of social media and the way that the roles of men are changing and how you're trying to fit your place. But if you're looking politically, when pollsters do those polls, and they do the polls, for example, who's more likely to believe disinformation and what parties are you most likely to vote for and all that kind of stuff. There's a huge notable shift in men under 50.
In what? Why? How?
That they're being led to think different ways. Like this, by what they see on social media, how they're coming in. It's not
the searchers,
because we talk about exactly the searchers. We're not, because we often talk, oh my God, they're being brainwashed. It's not brainwashed. It's through what they are consuming and where they're being led. They're being led to think in different ways. They're being rewired.
I see it.
So it's happening specifically. We are losing like to the whole right wing disinformation. We are losing tons of people. Specifically men under 50. They are the target.
Yeah. And it's interesting, we talked a little bit about the charlatans. I think because the message is clear, and it also speaks to our basic instincts, right?
I think it's more than that, though, Locke. I think it largely has to do with the fact that men of that certain age group feel like they're being marginalized and pushed off to the side because Everybody has a day to celebrate. They're like, well, where's my day? Where's the white? Whoa, settle down there, coaches. I mean, come on. If you're white, you're already starting the 100-meter race at the 50-meter mark. If you're male and cis and het, you're starting at the 75-meter mark. The gun goes off and you're 3 steps from the finish line. And what's happening is they feel like they're not getting that anymore, because you have people like Jordan Peterson, amongst others, telling this group of men that, well, your rights are being robbed from you because the gays are doing this, or the trans are doing this, and it's always something. When Black Lives Matter first came out, the amount of white people that came out of the woodwork going, all lives matter. It's like, no, you're missing the point.
If all lives mattered, we wouldn't have to say Black Lives Matter.
You're missing the point.
Great,
and that's what it boils down to.
Yeah, but the thing about angry men, and you've seen it a lot, right? And I go back to this all the time, and I just finished saying, we're told to man up, we're told to get over it, like all those things. What we're talking about here is a shift in paradigm, a shift in ideology, a shift in how men perceive themselves, because there's been a shift in how men are being perceived, right? So there, and again, that goes one of two ways, Douglas. We talked about it before. You get radicalized, pissed off, and you go and do something stupid. And we've seen that happen for the last 4 or 5 years, because people are told, whether it's MAGA, Maple MAGA, incels, you guys are the victims. Well, there is a vast group in that male group who don't feel like victims. I don't feel like I'm a victim of societal changes. I really don't. I feel like I'm being asked to learn, progress, get better, move on. That's what I feel like. I feel like I've been asked by everybody to contribute to the greater good when it comes to the patriarchy, which runs this country, runs politics. Everybody understands that, which runs the media, which runs industry in this country. The patriarchy, and the colonial patriarchy, I may add, is the model that we employ in this country, and there are people kicking and screaming to keep their place in that male white line. And it starts with politics and lobby groups and the hierarchy, which not only demands it, but spiritually, it's a commandment that the man is in charge of the house. So the fight that you're seeing from lobby groups really originates in ideologies where man-made religion, specifically Abrahamic faiths, Muslims, Christians, and 40,000 denominations of those, are telling their people, we need to fight like crazy to keep our place in line. We need to fight like crazy. So if you want to nuance this conversation, there are insane people trying to make people crazier about being a man to keep your place in line as a man. And that place in line is at the very fucking front of the line in every capacity. So there's that part of it.
Right?
Totally. But there's that part of it. Then there's the other part where the vast majority of people like us sit here and scratch our heads and go, well, we should be interested in becoming better human beings. We should be interested in giving our privilege to the marginalized. We should be interested in having a community of people come together for the greater good, right? So in that little microcosm, you've got people that are so confused about what it is that our job is as men, that men are either getting angry or they're abdicating. And when I say abdicating, they're abdicating the responsibility to take care of certain things, and they're saying, fuck it, let's burn it all down. And that is what you see coming out of the MAGA movement. That is what you see coming out of the conservative movement in this country. That is a highly libertarian way to think. And so you've got men literally fighting each other now, and you've got progressive men who are asking those other men to settle the fuck down and think about the community. And, that fight in itself, on top of the mental fight of trying to figure out where your space is, on top of trying to figure out what it is it means to be a man, the confusion when it comes to men in social arenas, political arenas, if you're not entitled, is nuclear right now, Douglas, and nobody's talking about it. No one's saying, how do you feel? Well, I feel marginalized. Why do you feel marginalized? And it's easy to look at the color of someone's skin and what's between their legs and say, there's no way you should feel marginalized. But we are being fire hosed this victim propaganda, and we are being told as men, it is our duty to stand up for the hierarchy. And I am here to tell you, as someone who grew up in all that,
Mhm.
it's all a fucking lie.
Yeah.
All of it. The idea
All of
that because of the vagina, as Lachlan likes to point out, that you fell out of, blessed you with whatever privilege you have, means that you should be proud of the hierarchy. That just means you're a fucking idiot, in my opinion. It does. And there's no getting away from it.
But I will say this. I think that you're right. Both sides are fueled. So if you're self-aware and you're sitting back taking a look at this and trying to even negotiate a conversation about one thing or another, doesn't even matter what the topic is, you might just say, I'm gonna sit this one out because it is a little hot in the kitchen right now. So I'm not gonna wade into those waters. That's where I think our issue is, because if you do feel a certain way or you feel strongly about something, right? Maybe you do feel, and I feel like this, I feel like the pendulum swung a little too far one way, but it's coming back. You can kind of see it. And that's where we need to get to. And if we can equate to this to the mental health, if you do feel like you're in a position where you can't be yourself, that's where men get into trouble. I was listening to a podcast, and I'm not going to say what the podcast was, but I remember. No, it wasn't Rogan. It wasn't Rogan, and it was a conversation about the woman at the Oilers game who showed her boobs, and it went viral. Mm-hmm. And you could hear there was like 4 guys on the panel, and one guy was like, tits this, tits that. And I was like, every time he said it, I was like, whoa, that. And you could hear the other guys kind of trying to be a part of the conversation, but you could feel their discomfort in sort of taking part in what this guy was trying to get them to do. Like he was trying to get them to, let's do the tits thing here. Yeah. Let's talk about boobs.
Let's get base. Let's get base, everybody.
Yes. And there was one guy that was clearly trying to, you could hear how uncomfortable he was.
Please.
That's one of those podcasts
where you're Taylor Swift.
You're like this.
That's where we're at in society, right? There's still guys out there that want to be the tits guy. And you're not allowed to be the tits guy anymore. You have to be this. And I was so uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's time and place and how. Like when I saw that Oilers girl lift her shirt up, and by the way, spectacular video, really enjoyed it. Oilers won the series, a magic talisman, maybe 2 you could call it. And then in Florida, a woman with a Florida jersey did the same thing ahead of game 1 of the Stanley Cup final. The Florida Panthers won, and I'm like, hey, listen, this might be a magical booby Stanley Cup final run, and I'm okay with it. But what I did,
magic boobies.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I'm a warm-blooded Canadian male. There's nothing wrong with a great set. Big fan.
I'm a gay beaver. I agree.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Gay
Boobs
beaver.
are great.
But to your point, men used to have this weird license with other dudes, right?
Yes.
Where it's like this license
it's
to
not there anymore.
Objectify women, which was
nobody
always
was
a bad thing, right?
Yes, nobody was going to stop you. Nowadays,
you
can
feel
you
it.
can't say that.
I have a theory as to why that's changed.
Why?
I have a theory, and tell me what you gentlemen think about this.
By the way, first of all, tell me whether or not you did appreciate those Hooters as much as I did, Paul. Thank you very much. Okay.
You know what I appreciated? I appreciated
the smile on her face.
Yes, at the end, there was this kind of little smirk, like I did it.
And good on her.
That was the sexiest thing for me.
My theory as to why guys aren't talking like that so much anymore. And tell me if you think I'm wrong or way out in left field on this one. But my thought is that so many men today, no matter their age, Gen Z, Gen X, Gen Millennial, whatever, or Gen Alpha, the new one, a lot of them were raised by single mothers and may have had a couple of sisters. So they've never really had the outlet to do that. And even when they were with other guys, if all those other guys came from the same sort of upbringing, they might not feel really comfortable talking like that. because it's like, well,
wow,
you know,
that's
what would my
interesting.
mom think?
You nailed
of course,
that.
when you're raised by, you know, you don't have the male influence.
Single mom.
Single
right?
mom.
So I think that might have something. I could be wrong, but I think that has a lot to do with it.
Respect. Yeah, where you grew up, dude. And here's the thing:
the one
so
life
Gen
lesson.
Xers, 50% of Gen Xers grew up with single moms.
Yeah, well,
what were you saying, Douglas? You were saying something.
It says my mom was the one lesson. There's 2 lessons she learned. One, you can do anything you want so long as you get yourself an education, and 2, you are no better or no worse than absolutely anybody else. Man, woman, black, white, anything. You're no better. You're no worse. So keep it in check.
Locke, you were raised by a single mom. Doc, and you have an enormous respect for women. I never hear you disrespect women. You never disrespect your wife. You got 2 young daughters. You talk incredibly kindly about them. You hold them up on pedestals, right?
Yep.
To your point.
Well, and to Doug's point, I had a very similar message from my mom too, right? Everyone is on the same playing field, right? So, and that I've had major issues with authority figures in my day not because I was an asshole to authority figures, but because I treated the janitor with as much respect as I treated the president.
Right.
Bingo.
Of the company. And I was brought up that way. And I don't know if I had been raised by my father, if I would have that same sentiment, if I would have,
to say, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't think I would have, because my dad just, I don't know him well, but I know that he has this thing about, that guy, got to call him Mr.
Well, both my parents were very much like treat everybody equally, period, right across the board. And a lesson I learned, my father was in the military, right? He's retired a long time ago. One of the lessons I learned was you salute the rank, not the man. So you salute the rank. Remember that.
A lot of guys didn't get that separation, Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just didn't get that. But that's the thing. It's like treat everybody equally. Treat everybody the way you want to be treated. That's not that difficult. It really takes no effort to just treat everybody equally.
But it's been on a sliding scale for a long time for men, because men have been taught to treat women like objects.
Yes. No, you're right.
Taught to treat people like objects. Men are much more transactional than women, and we're uncomfortable talking about those feelings. What is it, Douglas? And we're talking about the mental health 5K. It is on Saturday. We're got a little video for you here to play, where you're going to go for a walk 5K with a bunch of dudes to talk about not just our perceptions, but when you talk to people about what this means to them, as you and Paul have decided to put this on in the beautiful city of Ottawa on the 15th, which is next Saturday. And people find out you're doing this. What is the reaction specifically from men? And what are some of the conversations that this has started for you? Because you've gotten some pretty big wheel support here. Like Senator Patrick Brazeau is there.
Yep.
I'm trying to move my calendar around so I can get up there. I know you've got other notable people that are coming up as well. By the way, you're getting that hug, and I want that hug you promised me, Douglas. I want that big, weird hug.
There was a long description about the hug that Dean is going to get from Doug, and it was, I love the man. It's going to get handsy.
And very awkwardly handsy.
Yeah. It's going to get handsy.
He might get felt up a little.
Dude, I'm okay with it.
But only above the waist and over the shirt.
Thanks, buddy. Well, that's not feeling me up then.
Hey, if
you got to grab cheek, more, Doug.
I will take
you
more.
Got to get it. You got to get some cheek.
I got to get some cheek. Okay. I will meet Dean. I will squeeze his Charmin and let you know how soft it is.
It's soft. It hasn't seen the light of day in 30 years. So there you go. But let me ask you something. What are, because I have an answer to this, and I would be interested to hear yours. You know, people our age, our friend groups. I'm noticing psychopathy pop up in all of them: depression, anxiety. Lack of confidence, the inability to negotiate. What is it? What are some of the conversations this has started? Paul and Douglas, maybe you guys can weigh in on that.
Well, go ahead, Paul. You start.
I was thinking, so I'll be 56 in like 3 weeks, okay? And I've been openly discussing my mental health struggles, my struggle with depression since Robin Williams took his life. That was when I went public with mine. I tried to talk about this in the 90s when I was first diagnosed, and nobody wanted to hear it. People said, you have a good life. You should just cheer up. I'm like, that's not how depression works. It's not, I feel sad. It's, I feel like I want to myself. I feel like I am completely worthless. I'm empty. I'm in despair. I want to crawl under the desk and cry myself to sleep. And hopefully when I do fall asleep, that I don't ever wake up, because that's what depression makes you feel like. And trying to explain that to people in the 90s, they didn't want to hear it. Now people are open to hearing how people feel, how their mental health is, how, it's like when somebody says, man, I'm really struggling today. It's like, oh, what's the problem? Now, not a lot of guys do that. I do. The funny thing is, when I'm in the midst of a struggle, I don't say anything. I will, when I come out the other side of it, I will say, yeah, I was really suffering. And and every morning Douglas will greet me and say, how's your mental health today? And I'm very frank. And sometimes I'll start off with say, well, and then I'll go, actually, truth be told, I'm not good right now. And here's what's happening. Because I'm trying to get over the hurdle in my head about openly discussing it while I'm going through it. That's why I have the ASMR channel. Like, I'll be doing a show tonight at 9 p.m. talking about my mental health struggles as of late, and promoting the mental health walk, because men, we don't, like you said, Douglas, a few minutes ago, men, who do you talk to? No one. There are so many men that say that. And the reason that this, like you said, started, it came about by Pete telling us all about this thing he did in Australia. And I went, that's something we should focus on here, because so many men take their lives and nobody knew they were suffering. They had nowhere to go. There were no resources. And the minute they reach out to people, oftentimes they're like, oh, man up. It's not that bad. It's like, you don't understand the struggle that's going through my head right now. So,
and a lot of people as well, a lot of men are slowly killing themselves as well.
Thank you for that, Paul.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that. Means a lot. I think there are a lot of guys out there that have that depressive state. Some people call it low mood. And they don't talk about it. They don't talk about not wanting to wake up. And I think that is a keenly familiar space for a lot of men between the ages of 30 to 50 to 60, because there's this idea out there that you've outlived your use. Right. And it could come in the form of job, could come in the form of relationships.
It's and that I'm going through right now.
Is it really? Tell me about it.
My contract. So I work for Company A. They contract me to Company B. Company B is a Crown Corp. That contract ends on Friday. Come Monday, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if there's work for me. And I'm losing a bit of my identity, because I love what I do. I help people every day and I love it. And now that's being taken away from me. Just because, they got to save some money in the budget and they don't have the money to cover me. So I'm going to be out of a job. I don't know what I'm going to be facing come Monday. I have no idea. And up until
if you get assigned somewhere else.
Yeah, I will be assigned somewhere else. I don't know where it is. And it's going to be day one, new culture, new people. I'm going to have to learn how things work somewhere else. When I'm super happy and super comfortable, I look forward to going into the office every day. Who gets to say that? Not a lot of people. But that's coming to an end, and it's got nothing to do with me. And that's tough to take. And I mean, up until I'd say just this past week, the struggle I had with it, it was like each and every day, it was like, damn it, this is going to end. This sucks. Because there's so many people that I work with that I just enjoy working with them. There's such good people in this place. And it's being taken away. And I really struggled with it. Last week, I came to, I guess, fully accept it. It's like, well, I can only control what I can control, and what I can control is how I react to this.
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to choose the high road, and I'm going to be happy, and I'm going to go out on a good high note. And hopefully everyone, because I'm getting emails right now, people going, I need some help with this. I'm like, when is it? They're like, July. I'm like, sorry, my contract ends this Friday. I won't be around. I apologize. And then they're like, what? That's crazy. Well, yeah. Tell the guy who runs the budget. Maybe we can get me back in. I'm certainly hoping that's the case, because having to start over again, day one at 56.
That lack of control over your own destiny, I think, is a big part of
massive.
Right. So add that to any kind of any kind of confusion about what a man's role is in today's society, is also.
Yeah.
And that's happening too. There used to be this thing where you get a job, You join the union, you work 30 years, and you retire and you get the fishing boat.
And the gold watch, and you're good to go.
Do you know how many guys I know that are on like their 4th career?
Yeah.
What does that say though, Douglas? Like, what does it say to how we have misrepresented what foundationally should be our identity, right? As men, and because I look at what Paul's talking about, right? And I look at my life, I look at your life. Like, if I'm going to deal with my life and the biggest issues in my life, it's being told I am no longer wanted in the foundational job, which created my identity, which was being a morning show radio host, right? That dogged me for years because I put my faith in something I could not control.
Right.
And I wrapped up my identity in something I could not control. And when I talk to men about this, and Paul touched on it, and Lachlan, you're in this boat too, dude. We're all in this boat. Yep. You had the course of your life, your expectations changed, despite A, doing a great job being a good human being, B, being successful, all the things you're told to do, right?
Yep.
Doing the job that you are asked to do, providing for your family. You did everything. Paul did everything. Douglas did everything. I did everything we were told society wanted from us.
Yep.
And then someone went like this. Yep. Rug gone.
I went to school. I got the good grades. I did the extracurricular activities. I got the scholarships, graduated top of the class, found the good job,
But isn't that because here's where I get to, right? And I talk about this with men's health. Mental Health 5K, by the way, is in Ottawa on Saturday. We're going to quickly give
What time are you guys starting?
Noon.
Yeah, we'll get to all.
Noon.
At some point, I'm going to give you. You have to give all the details there. I thought you'd get there sooner, but this is too good.
In my life, I have sat around waiting for other people to fix my problems. I've sat around waiting for other people to address my emotional unwellness. I've sat around waiting for people to meet my expectations, right? And they never have once. Nope. Never have. Do you think we have a systemic problem as men with A, not being raised to have the tools to be able to understand life on life's terms, and B, not being raised to have the tools to respond properly to the way life is? Because I don't know about you, I wasn't told it would be this hard. I wasn't told that this was coming for me. I wasn't told that by the age of 50, I would be a collection of my nervous experiences, failures, and not just failures, but I was not told that if you do everything properly, someone can still take it away from you, and you have to figure out a way to respond to life in a way that benefits your emotional, physical, and spiritual needs. No one taught me about that. Do you think that we're in that deficit right now?
Yes.
Can I jump in here? Sorry, Doug. Because I'm balls deep in the middle of this right now.
Yeah. No, you are.
And here's where I'm going to add another layer to this, and then we'll get you to try to dissect it, Doug. Mm-hmm. I also busted my ass for these companies, made sacrifices, let my family and friends down because I chose work ahead of everything else that was going on in their lives. And then after putting in almost a decade, unceremoniously, without any thank you, get a bullet. Right? Boom, you're done. That's it. And then you sit there. So now my turmoil right now is I'm dealing with the guilt of a 30-year career that I put first over everything else, selfishly, moved my family, made these hard decisions, all for the sake of, listen, I was paid well, so I don't want it to seem like too much of a victimhood here, but I missed out on stuff. And like, I was at a funeral this weekend, this past week in Vancouver. I might have missed that in past years because it was during ratings.
Right.
So that's my struggle now, where I'm like, I gave them everything and it meant nothing. And I'm repairing my relationships in my family because of the selfishness and And that's what I'm struggling with.
Right. Well, but it is a struggle because you're like, on one hand, right, it's like, okay, I need to make this right. Mm-hmm. I guess, and trying to make things right is a good thing to do, so long as like you don't turn and invest everything that you put in your career into trying to make it right, because sometimes you can't, right? And in that career, you do all that thing, and then it gets taken away from you, I guess. And then you sit there and you think, okay, now here's all the things I missed out because I gave all this, man, I was stupid, whatnot. It's just another thing to beat yourself up about and ruminate about and send yourself into a tailspin about. Mm-hmm. Right? It just becomes one more. You can't do that. And making a decision like you have to say, you know what? I am going to try and shore up what it is that I've left lacking. That is a healthy decision. But you can do that in an unhealthy manner. Mm-hmm. Right? You can try too damn hard. And that can be repelling as well.
You know what's interesting?
And it can have people suspicious as well, depending on your relationships. It's like, so why are you here now? You weren't here the last 2 years.
If there's an unhealthy path, I'll find it. I'll keep you guys posted.
but you can meet with that as well, which then becomes another thing.
Yeah.
So this reminds me of something that about 15 years ago, it was the second darkest night of my life. I had went to meet with some friends. My buddy says, we got to go for a drink. I go, okay, what's up? So we went out for a drink and we start talking, and he tells me how, he goes, I lost $1 million this weekend. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, it's investments that all went right in the toilet. It's $1 million. And I go, are you okay? He goes, I have lots more money. He goes, that was the first $1 million I made. And he says, here's why I'm upset. Because what you just talked about, Locke, I sacrificed so much for the job to build this wealth, and the wealth is gone like that. And I went, wow, that's pretty traumatic. He goes, no, I'm fine. I still got lots of money coming in, and I still have other investments, but to lose $1 million, that's a lot of money. I'm like, yeah. He goes, but he says, but what I'm most frustrated about is the 10 years it took me to earn that, all of the things I sacrificed, all of the things I gave up. You'd go camping for the weekend. You'd go off to Montreal for the weekend. You and your buddies were over here. I was skipping out on all of that. I said, yeah, I learned that lesson the hard way too, but it didn't cost me $1 million. So anyway, the night goes on, and we have a few more drinks, and he heads off home. He's fine. And then my depression hit harder than it had ever hit. This was the darkest night of my life. And I was at Confederation Park, which is right next to the National Arts Center. And there's a fountain there, and I was lying beside the fountain, and I called a bunch of people to say goodbye. I had made a decision. Obviously, I didn't follow through with it, and my cousin came and picked me up and brought me home and took care of me, and everything worked out for the best, but it was the darkest night of my life, and it was, it just made me think about all the sacrifices I had made in the past and had nothing to show for it. And this guy sacrificed everything, lost $1 million. He's fine. He's married. He's got a wife and kids and the whole bit. And he's done very, very well for himself. And he's worked his ass off to get it. But it just hit me with, if I will never have that was my thought. And it's like, I was severely depressed at the time. And I was trying to wear the mask. And after that was a catalyst moment, if you will. Things changed for me after that, because I started to approach things differently. And then September 11th happened. And a month later, I was in Africa visiting my family, which is where this is from. My life turned around after that, but I had to get to that really, really dark place.
Yep.
And I don't know if I've ever publicly disclosed that before. But,
for me, it was...
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. For me, the things were slightly different, but for me, it was when stuff was taken away from me, it was my body.
Yeah.
That quit.
Yeah.
I was a dance student. I started at the age of 8, I believe, and I was 21, and I got accepted to the Bachelor of Fine Arts at Concordia University in contemporary dance. I was on my way. You graduate from that, I was going to meet everybody, I was going to have a career. And I got accepted, and about 1 month before classes started, simply stepping off a curb onto the street, my knee wanted to go left, and it went right instead. I completely subluxed and dislocated my knee, soft tissue bled, all that kind of stuff. I tried to go to dance school anyway, and after 3 months, because my leg had not come back as well, they basically took me aside and they said, listen, we've delayed all the practicum stuff that we can, but now you got to start doing them or else you're going to fail. And you're going to fail out. And all of a sudden, The one thing I was good at.
It's taken away from you.
For 13 years. And there was
you didn't
no
know how to
plan B.
fail either,
I was
did you?
going to be a dancer, and that was it. And I grew up as a foster kid, and I grew up poor.
Mm-hmm.
So the option of failing was not there, because if I failed, I didn't have any place to bring my laundry to on Sunday or go have a Coke meal. If I fall on my face, I fall on my face. I'm in the gutter. I could not afford to fail once.
It's amazing how loss.
That's the amazing pressure.
It's amazing how loss has caused so much psychopathy.
Exactly. And then, so I lost that. Then I floundered for 2 years until I found communications. And then I went from there, and did all my whole program. And then last year of university, once again, I was at a swim meet. We were at the banquet after. I wanted to go left. My knee went right again.
That was it.
That fucking knee. It's got a mind of its own.
I missed most of the last term. That happened in October. I think. So I missed almost all the academic school year, like this in-person in class, because I couldn't walk. I couldn't sit in the benches. I couldn't get there. Then I had reconstructive surgery scheduled on my knee 1 week before exams, like this, and I had it. And here I am at 25 now, and I have to learn to walk all over again from scratch. My right leg completely atrophied. I had to build it up. If I was lying down, I couldn't lift my leg up.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how much I had to learn it from scratch all over again. And one fucking professor refused to return my phone call so that I can write my final exam. And I had to fight. I actually had to go see the dean of arts like this, and they scheduled me with the assistant dean. And I said, I need to do this exam again, and I haven't had a chance to be in class. I've got my notes, but I want an hour with the professor so that I can say, do I have all the notes that I need to be able to do this exam? And she looked at me and she says, you're trying to cheat and get a unfair competitive advantage over it. I said, I wasn't in class for 7 of the months. I got all the notes. It's like this. I just want to make sure that I have all of them, and that if I have a question or two about that, I can ask them like everybody else did. And I got accused of wanting to cheat. I graduated a whole year later after all of my class. So I lost that too, the opportunity to graduate with my class. Then I ended up going into communications, and I was working. And then, like you, I climbed the ladder really quick. I was 29 and I was already a director of communications. I was 1 level below EX, executive in the public service, at 29.
Wow.
At 26, I was an acting PM6 in the federal government.
That is.
I guess it's again one level below executive again.
Okay.
Like this, but acting.
The
and
acronyms
I did
throw me
sounds
all the
important.
time.
I did that job. They needed somebody in as an emergency. I did it like him for 6 months. I did it brilliantly. Everybody loved me like this. And then we had the formal interview for the position. And in the interview, you had to get 60% overall, but you had to get 60% on every question. Now, at that time, I was 25. They gave me 5 on 10 for the first question, and I got 7, 8, 9, 10 for every single one. They failed me on the first question. Why? Because they thought I was too young, even though I had been doing the job for 6 months, and everybody loved me.
Yeah, that's cute, right?
You know what it is?
For sure, that was going to be another knee story.
Yeah.
And I dropped down from level 6 to level 3.
And then you were walking out of the building. You stepped on the wrong thing, and your knee went right, and your leg went left.
This time.
But you know what I did though? I went right to the computer, and then I looked at the other jobs. I says, if that's what they did to me, and I went somewhere else, and I went to get my permanence. I left. I went right back to the computer as soon as I saw that, and I started looking for my next job.
Yeah, not many people do that though. My point is that a lot of guys will just kind of fold up shop and go fucking hide underneath the covers.
You can't do that. I think there is something to be said about defining yourself with one thing, though, Doug. I think that's one thing that's that I've done over the years, and that's why I've jumped so hard into this yoga thing too. Right? I don't want to be defined by one thing because it's too hard to deal with the disappointment of and Dean and I have talked about this openly. When you are defined not only yourself but others see you as
society,
that, and you might not even be that completely. It's hard to take when all of a sudden someone goes, you know what? We're pulling that rug out from underneath of you.
And then, sorry, just to finish, and then like Lachlan was saying, then I did the thing. Then I got, like I said, that management job at 29 because I had no life. I was in PR. I was living at the mercy of other people's crises. Hey, Douglas, you coming to dinner with us? Yes. Okay. Then ring. Hi, Douglas. No, sorry. Legal just called. Sorry, I can't make it. I was bailing on everything all the time. And all of a sudden, a couple of months after I had that job, my friends weren't calling me anymore to invite me to anything. Why? Well, Douglas always bails anyway. He says he'll come and then he can't show up at the last minute. So
that's my move, by the way.
I lost, but I was losing my friends. I stopped getting invites. I had my job and I was isolated. And then my body quit on me again, not my knee, but in a different way, which I will not share because it's personal like this. But I was at work one day and I was with a consultant. Like I said, I was coming with 2 glasses of water and I felt this warm whoosh come all over me. And the next thing you knew, I was on the ground. Like a
stress.
Somebody brought me to the hospital and the doctor took one look at me when it was done and says, "You're done.
Burnt. Done.
You're not going back to work there."
Yeah, it'll kill you.
So again,
let me ask you guys,
everything. So, so I was 29 and I had lost everything.
Again,
I was already on my 3rd career.
Yeah.
I had to start a 4th and I lost my career 3 times.
And there's a point in every person's life, not just a man's life, but it's specific in men because what's expected of you, no matter,
as the
what kind of man you are. Yeah. I mean, it's just this thing. It's passed down generation after generation. You get one job, you stay in that job, you do a good job, it meets your expectations, right? You get married, you have kids, you stay married forever. Loss is one of those incredible things where you realize something over time. And some of the gentlemen that I work with now understand this. I understand this intimately. Mm-hmm. And I wish more men knew this. I wish more men talked about this one aspect of life. You are absolutely entitled to the process. You are never, ever entitled to a result. And we put all of our expectations on results, don't we, as men? We're told to get results, win, do this. This is you do everything. This is your path. And we don't get that result. And when that result is either changed, taken away from us early, or it doesn't meet our expectations or others, because
or you get it and it still isn't enough.
And it's not, that's hedonic. I'll get to that in a minute, which is fascinating. But we are taught to reach for external rewards as validating opportunities. We're taught that money, jobs, titles, cars, houses, wives, kids, clothes. We're taught that all those externals, those are the measures that maketh man. It's 100% untrue. It is not only untrue, you are setting yourself up for the very conversation that we're having today. Yes. Which is why did life not meet my expectations? I'll tell you why. And I want everybody to listen to this very, very carefully. Because life does not give a fuck about your expectations. Life doesn't care about what's in your head. And the life that you've been sold is not real because you've been sold a life that relies on other people to meet your happiness expectations. And that is entirely the problem that we have with men. That is entirely the problem we have with life. That is entirely the problem we have with the victim class in this country and across the world, is they look at their lives and they go, didn't meet my expectation. Who the fuck am I blaming for this?
Yeah.
Guess what? You have to blame one person and one person only. And true wellness, true mental health comes when you understand that one thing, is that you are entitled to a process and you're entitled to try and enjoy that process. That is your destination. The result should never matter. The process and the person you are, the character that you develop, the skills that you learn along the way of how to respond to life's incredible fucking disappointments. That is your destination. And I hope that that's part of this conversation because cognitively speaking, men, their biggest problem is this problem. It is life didn't meet my expectations. I have been told the patriarchy is here for me. I've been told I'm at the front of the line, specifically white dudes. But When it doesn't, you see people show up to Ottawa in the thousands telling everybody that they're miserable and your life sucks, and they get their bank accounts frozen. The circumcision of your own life by not taking accountability for your life and your expectations according to what you put into your life is the lone goal of every human being on this planet. What do you control and what do you not control? That is your chief task in life. And we have been focused that way when we should be focused this way.
Mm-hmm. And the expectations,
No, go ahead.
The expectations that we're told to have is the wrong ones, because if you really look at it and analyze it, most sadness, most anger, if you go back down the line, comes somewhere from an unmet expectation.
Mm-hmm.
At its source, if you go back,
think about it.
Think about that one types thing. Of expectations you're supposed to have. I'm going to go through this process, and my expectation is that I will learn something from it. It's a health one. I'm going to go through this process, and I'm going to get this, and then you don't get that, and then you get mad at the process, or you get mad at the people, you get mad at this, like this. Almost all of it, when you go back, it's from an unmet expectation that you probably shouldn't even have had.
Mm-hmm. I had a very
but you were told was normal.
Yeah. I had a very intuitive mom. So again, and it's funny because I have in the past talked about my mom's lack of parenting. Like, I didn't feel like she was that engaged in parenting. She had me when she was 16. And so I was on my own from a very young age, wildly independent. But I do remember a couple of things. And one of them was, everybody's on the same playing field. You treat everybody with respect. We're all human beings. And I've lived that my whole life. But also another one was that you're going to learn from some of the lessons, some of the better lessons you learn in life are from things that didn't go the way you wanted them to go. So that's how I think I've coped.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Disappointment has been,
Can I ask you guys a question?
Wildly helpful for me.
Have you ever learned any life skills from super happy moments where everything worked out?
No, of course not. God, no.
Do you think Einstein learned how to make whatever the fuck Einstein made from succeeding all the time?
No.
Wasn't it EMC squared or something?
Energy equals mass times the speed
of light. You think
light.
Edison, every time he came up with a new iteration of that fucking light bulb, was like, it works. That sucks.
No, he did a lot of blow. Apparently, I just found
Edison
that out.
Was a big fan of the cocaine. Yeah, him and Tesla, they loved it.
Yes,
but
the only thing I've learned from success is how to be able to handle it.
That's true,
because that's a thing like this, and how to spread the credit.
Oh, dude, you never do that. You always, 48 Laws of Power. Robert Greene says, take credit for other people's work anytime you can. It's smart.
One of the strange life lessons I learned was an interview with Harvey Korman, of all people.
Harvey Korman from the Carol Burnett show?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He was being interviewed when Kurt Cobain committed suicide, because what he did. And Harvey Korman was being interviewed, and he says, I'd like to talk about this. And they go, what? He goes, here's the thing that you need to understand. From birth, we learn how to fail, and we can accept it very quickly. You go to take your first couple of steps, you fall on your face, that didn't work out, you get up, you keep trying again. So we're pretty good at learning and accepting defeat constantly. Failure might not be the right term, but we're used to getting defeat. We're not used to learning how to win. And he says, when I first started to make it big on Carol Burnett show, and he wasn't the big star of the show by any stretch of the imagination, but when you're on the #1 rated show in the world, everybody's telling you how wonderful you are. And he said, the thing I couldn't understand was how to be successful. I couldn't accept it. And he turned to the bottle, and he was a raging alcoholic for years. Finally got clean and sober. He said, but I couldn't handle success. And nothing in life will teach you how to handle success. And he says, and I think that is largely what drove Kurt Cobain to his heroin addiction. He couldn't handle the success.
Well, look at
maybe that's right, maybe that's wrong, but we don't know how to handle success. And Dean, I mean, come on, you must have, I'm sure you can relate to
almost
that.
Killed me, dude.
Yeah, there you go. Right?
You know, there are, so what has it been, like 10 years? Yeah, 10 years this year. That I was basically told I was homophobic and a pariah to society, and had literally everything taken away from me, from my confidence to my job, like everything. because I put all my faith in those things, right? But what came before that, for sure, be careful what you ask for, right? Being able, someone gives you money, lots of money to do a job because you're really successful and people know who you are. And I was given a ton of money to do a job. You can take that money and avoid all kinds of learning experiences. You can throw money at all kinds of problems, right? Like, hey, counseling, not for me. I'm just going to go on a 4-week bender in the Maldives, and that'll set me straight. So you avoid failure, and failure is your greatest teacher. You're drunk through failure. That was the way I coped with it. And to that point, it's systemic. There are so many men out there that have experienced some success in their life, and when life changes, they don't know how to cope with it because they don't have the skills or the tools to be able to understand that this is your responsibility to deal with, right? Someone can deliver a baby to your house, put it on your front door, totally unfair because you got to figure out what to do with it. But that is your responsibility to deal with that because someone put this on your front door. It doesn't preclude you from dealing with it. And I thought it did. So what I did was I hid and I drank. Now, where does that kind of become systemic? We've had a 37% increase in alcohol-related deaths in Canada and North America this last year. 40%
I'm
in
glad
the
you're
United
bringing
States.
it up because I think a lot of people kill themselves slowly.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Right?
We all pick our poisons.
We've had a 42% increase in suicidal ideations in men over the past 4 years. We have had a 80% increase in attempted suicide and suicides in the male community between the ages of 24 and 54
Opioids.
over the past 4 or 5 years. Opioid deaths are on the rise. Now, why? As someone who is absolutely a grateful alcoholic who can sit here and tell you that he has gone to those meetings, he has done the work and continues to do the work, and I hope I always do. I can tell you that if I work with 5 guys 5 years ago on their drinking, I work with 30 now. And it always has to do with the exact same thing. I'll tell you what it has to do with. Life not meeting a man's expectations and that man not having any ability to be able to respond properly in his best interest for himself and everybody around them. And that is the crippling effect that problems that we have, if we're not prepared to deal with them on our terms, not drunk, not high, if we're prepared to blame ourselves for where we're at in life and we're accepting of where we are. Douglas said it when he finally accepted that this is what he was. This is the place that is like, that's when he started to get better. That is the only time that happens. And the only time you can get the fuel for that in a lot of our lives is when life literally shows up at your doorstep and says, okay, Captain Kimosabi,
deal with this.
Let's see what you got. And you got one choice as a man, a woman, and kids don't get this, to take your well-reasoned choice and apply every single filter to your own responsibility in your own life as to what you have to do to get better so you can learn from your experience as opposed to fucking submit to them. And we all do the same thing. It is a systemic problem that we have. We're confused about our roles. We're confused about our lives. People take things from us. We deal with loss improperly. We get filled with resentment. And then you know what a lot of us do? We fucking quit.
Yep. Or do something self-destructive.
Yeah.
And quitting is sometimes the self-destructive thing.
Absolutely. We quit life. We quit trying because we think it's going to be too hard. But that journey that you go on as a man, as a woman, as someone who's an adult with a responsibility to family and people that love you, that journey that you're going to go on, and I can promise you this, will be your freedom. You just got to be willing to talk to somebody about it, which is why I'm so, so grateful that you're putting on the mental health 5K, Douglas.
I'm glad you segued that way because that's exactly what I was going to say. All of these things, all of these issues, all of these problems, the first step is giving voice to them. And they have to be said out loud. There is no problem that has ever been fixed that has not been mentioned out loud.
Very true.
But it was. You got to give voice to it. And that's why, when we're talking about the mental health walk, we want to normalize men talking.
Yes.
Normal should not be weird, should not be framed as weird. It is normal for people to talk, to give voice to problems, to seek out information, to ask other people how they've handled it. This is normal behavior. It doesn't make you weak. That's strength. It doesn't make you worthless. You are trying. There's a moment where your worth has taken a hit and you're trying to find it again. You have to put voice to these types of things. So that's why we're asking people, on the 15th, and we are doing this in Ottawa, but it's not just an Ottawa thing. That's why we're on the show. We want everybody that do it. If you're listening to this, you don't live in Ottawa, because that's fine. If you're a guy on or male identifying, be as inclusive as we can. If there is someone in your life, call them, check in on them, invite them for a walk on the day. Like this, we're suggesting 5K because that gives you enough time to walk a bit and start to get a conversation going. And not just like, oh, how is this going? Like to actually chat for a while and just go in and check in. Now, we are encouraging male identifying to go with male identifying, men to bring out men. Sometimes, as we say, often men don't feel they don't have anyone. So if you're not a man, you're not male identifying, you can participate too.
Absolutely. And you want to
call
support
the men
man
in your life.
Yeah.
Yes. Call the men in your life. Invite them for a walk. Yes, we are trying to normalize bros. Make this part of bro culture that you check in. That is normal. Like this. So we're trying to make that part of bro culture rather than opposite to bro culture. But we want, number one, we want men to talk to anyone. Like this. But we do want to normalize men chatting with each other. So that's the first thing. So wherever you are in Canada, on the 15th, day before Father's Day, call someone. Get a group together, go walk together. Just call one person, go for a walk together. That's fine. Like it. Take pictures of yourself.
Send them to us.
Use the hashtag mental health walk. Post them on the day. Post a few words about why it is that you walked. You don't have to be in Ottawa to do it. Just take some time to check in with someone you care about. We are trying to raise a little bit of money. Now, we found out about Spoke for a Bloke, I think it was in March or something like this. So this is very fast this year, because we are working with an organization that's called menofthenorth.net. It's Men's Healing Advocates. It's in La Ronge, Saskatchewan. And it's just this wonderful program. It was Senator Patrick Brazeau's office that put us together in contact with them. But they're an organization that says, we believe in the collective strength of men united by a mission of personal growth and societal advancement. We're not just a community, we're a movement towards building a brighter, more empathetic future. Men of the North stands as a beacon of hope and transformation. Through our initiatives, we empower men to embrace self-awareness, compassion, and forgiveness, elements vital to self-respect. By working on ourselves, we hone our communication skills, build resilience, and face life's challenges with unyielding courage. Our commitment is not limited to self-growth, but extends to nurturing our families and enriching our communities. So this is out of La Ronge, Saskatchewan. It's an Indigenous-based program led by the community. The person that's operating this, Christopher Morasti, is an absolutely delightful man. Like I said, we got his contact information from Senator Brazeau's office. We reached him. He wrote us back right away. And it, again, took 0.25 seconds and said, yeah, this is great initiative. We are in. He's even organizing a walk there as well.
Cool.
For people.
Nice.
So, like I said, call your friends, organize a little group. If you want to raise a little bit of money or if you want to donate some money, you can. We will be directing everything to this organization.
Links in the description of the podcast, by the way. Just wanted to point that out. If you're listening, link will be in the description of this podcast. Douglas, sorry to interrupt you. Continue.
All right. No worries. And so we will be doing that. So if you want to just make a straight out donation, you can. You write to TrueNorthEagerBeaver@gmail.com and just send an e-transfer and we'll take care of that. If there are any administrative fees at our end to do that, we will eat those to make sure that the money goes to the organization. We are also selling these T-shirts.
Great little T-shirt. You get the green screen E. Looks very psychedelic. Like I just finished doing a bunch of ayahuasca. That's awesome.
Yes. So now, of course, the gradation of the colors that is on the logo didn't manifest itself in the print, but the gradation of the colors in the logo are the colors of the Suicide Prevention Awareness Ribbon.
Ah, very cool.
Nice.
Awesome.
So this was designed by our friend Ozzy Pete, who also designs this. He does most of our graphics like this, but he did go for that walk in Australia. The walk is a 25K walk. The walk for a bloke thing.
What's the hashtag again, Doug?
Hashtag mental health walk.
Mental. I see what you did there. Okay.
Yeah.
With the capital men.
Clever.
What I like about
HE in health.
Yeah.
What I like about the 5K too is, I mean, if you're going to walk in most neighborhoods, 5K is going to be, it's going to swing by a pub at least.
Oh yeah. You can stop for a couple of Frosties.
Exactly.
Yeah, you betcha.
But hold on a second.
Yeah,
so we're not closing down streets or anything like that.
No.
We're not organized. It's very grassroots. We're matching. We're meeting at his place, and we're just going to walk down city streets. We have a path that we made. It was 5 kilometers, and we're walking down, and then we're going to end around the canal, and then end at the Lieutenant's Pump, where we are going to do the live podcast. And again, if you want to join us for the live podcast, we're going to start around 3 p.m. Eastern on Saturday the 15th. If you want to watch there, again, there you will have an opportunity to donate if you want to, or buy a T-shirt. If you want to buy a T-shirt, it's $35, tax and shipping included. Again, same thing, at TrueNorthEagerBeaver at gmail.com. Send your mailing address, your shirt size. Like I said, $35, and we will send them to you. We can do up to sizes 2XL. I think we might even be able to do children's sizes, but we're having them printed on demand. So some of them might not get to you before the walk, but you will have them. All net proceeds are going to the organizations from that
profits.
as well.
Yeah,
so
profits.
Good.
So,
dude, thank you.
But please go. Like I said, everybody can participate if you want to organize a little walk. But the important part is whether you buy anything, whether you donate anything or not. That's not the important part this year.
No.
The important part is really take some time to check in, take a photo or two, put the hashtag, just show that you're doing it. That will give us something to build on because we hope to make this a national and
good for you guys.
an annual event. And for next year, yes, we'll have a whole bunch more lead up time and we can set up things like this. But this year, our goal was principally awareness.
Mm-hmm.
But then we had so many people join in. Like when you asked what was the reaction, it was absolutely fantastic. And here's the thing: on our show is actually very much well supported by women.
Very much.
Very much. The majority of the tips that we get in the support.
Well, you're very comforting, and Paul, there's a bunch of naked pictures of Paul on the internet, so I totally get it. Yeah.
But for the mental health walk, every shirt, every single shirt that we have sold so far has been sold to a man.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Nice.
See, this is what I'm telling you. It's like men, there's a hunger for this.
Yeah. There is.
There's a need for this. And as soon as you say it, like anybody I've mentioned to, anybody I've sent an email to about this, the reaction has been, oh my God, all in. How can we help?
Which is a shock to us. We're not expecting that at all.
Yeah.
But that has been the response. We're in. How do we help?
You know why? Because I think we're over our shit.
We have Men for the North. We have the Addicts in the Dark podcast that have come up. We've got a Zal Press that has decided, whatever help you need, they're going to help us with some Instagram,
and we're actually
LinkedIn stuff.
Connecting with the spoke to a bloke folks in Australia as well.
Yes, and we're gonna have Mr. Morasti from Men of the North on our show for an interview. We're gonna have the Spoke for a Bloke people on our show during the week. So we have like Mental Health Walk Week, and we're gonna start bringing in guests. Hopefully, there's somebody here locally that's offered to come in and talk about what their mental health struggles are. So hopefully, we could set a date. But we just want people to really, really make some time to make it normal. Take some time to check in with someone, with a man in your life.
Yeah. Grab a pal. Go do it. Can I see this too?
UFC fighter, a British guy. He won his bout. And then at the end of the bout, they're interviewing him. And he says, I just want to let everybody out there know that you need to talk to each other, reach out and talk to each other. He says, my friend last week who was supposed to be here today took his own life. He says, I would much rather have him cry on my shoulder than me be crying at his funeral. So open up to each other, talk to each other. Yeah, it's an epidemic, and it's one that we can change.
And let me just kind of put a bow on that. Both of those incredibly prescient statements that you made about men's health, everybody's mental health. I don't care who you are. I mean, we're just talking about dudes right now. I don't care who you are. I will say, Locke's got a blow. See you, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye, Lachlan. Lovely to see you.
Awesome seeing you guys.
It is nothing but courage. Nothing but courage to put your hand up and ask for help. You know how much courage that requires? Otherworldly courage. Otherworldly courage to be able to say, I need some help, and put your hand up and ask for help, and just have someone grab your hand. Not only does that take otherworldly courage, but it changes you in a moment when someone does grab your hand. when someone does listen, when someone does say, come with me, let's talk. So to your point, let's all walk this weekend, Saturday, mental health 5K. Let's do it wherever you do it. If you've got a friend of yours that struggles, take it for a walk. Post a picture. Tell everybody you went for a walk. If you don't want to post a picture, just say you went for a walk. Mental health 5K this weekend with a friend. You should do the same thing. But listen, you want to be courageous. You want to be a hero to your family. Men, I'm talking to you specifically now. Grab a piece of the courage that exists in communities and with people and influencers like Douglas, like Paul, like myself, other people who want the same things for us as we do for you. Happy lives, fulfilled lives, with the ability to be able to talk and enjoy people and not judge people. That is the goal. So really appreciate both of you. True North Eager Beaver is your podcast. Not only do they take incredibly accountable swipes at assholes in politics and explain things like nobody else, they do it pretending to be a beaver and a grizzly bear. Mr. Grizzly, Mr. Beaver, Paul, and my dear friend Douglas, both of you guys, love you both. Thank you very much for taking this by the horns and talking about some shit that needs to be talked about. Really appreciate it. I am 100% behind both of you guys in every capacity when it comes to being able to make the world around us just a little bit of a better place. All starts in one spot, by the way. You don't have to think that you're going to change the world. All you have to do is start with yourself. That's it. That's all you have to do.
And everything has to start somewhere.
Yeah.
It's not going to be big enough. It's not going to be. Everything starts somewhere.
You bet.
Just take the first step.
Thank you, Douglas. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it.
We didn't even do any NCCOP stuff.
Well, we'll have you back again this week. We'll do NCCOP. Well, it's so like an hour and a half of just like heartfelt. I know it's too juicy.
No, it would be terrible.
You want to come back tomorrow and deal with it tomorrow?
It's so juicy.
You want to come back tomorrow? We'll get into it. Okay, good. Yeah. Well, you know what happens when a big report falls into
peach juice is like going down your arm.
Yeah, it falls. Peach juice. Yeah, that's a good one. It's sort of like pizza grease. But when you find out your government and people in political parties and the media is corrupt as fuck, and they've been taking money from foreign governments to lie to you about your reality, certainly deserves an explanation, doesn't it? We'll do that tomorrow. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you for having us on. And everybody who's watching, please do take a moment to participate. It's like I said, you cannot raise too much awareness about this.
I'll close with one quick little quip. There's not a single person on earth that is not impacted in some way by someone with a mental health issue or challenge. A friend, a family member, yourself, a colleague, a coworker, a lover, somebody somewhere is battling a mental health issue. Be kind.
Appreciate you.
Dean,
thanks.
Could you play the little video clip before we go off?
Yeah, 100%.
Little 27-second one.
I'm going to play right now, just for you.
Yeah,
I'll play it just for you. Yeah. We'll do that, and then we'll put a clam on the podcast. Thanks everybody for joining us. Really appreciate it. You can get everything to a Crier Media. Go to crier.co for more details. Rate, subscribe this podcast anywhere you get your fine podcasts. Crier Media on YouTube, Dean Blundell Show on YouTube. Go and sub to the True North Eager Beaver podcast. These guys do good work explaining really hard shit and also making you feel real good about yourself. So make sure you go download that as well and sub anywhere you get your fine podcasts. Join us for the Mental Health Walk. That's where we will leave it today. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Enjoy each other, stick up for each other, talk to each other, and be there for each other. We work better that way. Have a great day. Thanks, everybody.
He made me blush.